All right. So, speaking of like software subscription services or software shops, let's talk about Valve. So, Valve, as we know, is the owner and operator of Steam, which is one of the biggest digital marketplaces for games. And they just lost a very important court case over in Europe. And we have this article from Digital Trends where it says French court case against Valve may have serious implication for game sales. And this was kind of an interesting article because basically a French consumer organization or consumer rights organization took Valve to court. And it was a French court. And basically, their case focused on the fact that consumers cannot resell a game once they have purchased a digital copy of it, unlike buying a physical copy. And basically, a high court in Paris has agreed with the consumer rights group, and Valve will have to change their policies. And basically, the argument was that when a consumer purchases a game, they are purchasing a license to use that software. This is just like the license you get to watch a movie when you buy a Blu ray disc. If you're done with a Blu ray that you bought, you no longer want to watch that movie, you can lend it to a friend or sell it secondhand. So digital purchases ought to work the same way. If a customer doesn't enjoy a game, they should be able to return it. And if they are done playing it, they should be able to resell it. And Valve argued that it does not sell licenses for games, rather, it sells subscriptions. When you purchase a game through Steam, you are buying the rights to access that game indefinitely. However, you are not actually purchasing a license for the game. Therefore, traditional consumer protections, such as the right to return or resell, do not apply. And the French court ruled against Valve on that argument and said that Valve needs to change its policies, or it will have to pay a fine of 3,000 euros per day for up to 6 months if Valve does not comply. And Valve, it says here, plans to appeal on the ruling. Of course, they are. But what impact would something like this have on the gaming industry, do you think, if more companies are taken to court over this?
This is a little bit of a terrifying court case. Mostly because, okay, just think about this. You beat a game, sell it the next day. Game prices almost overnight for every single game in the planet tank. How many games that are absolutely fantastic sell for $10? Last only maybe 10 hours. The same day a game goes on sale, its price suddenly becomes like $2.99, $1.99.
Because people are turning around and basically just reselling it.
Yeah, it's game sales become rentals, and this is not only terrifying for games. You have to think of what they're saying here. Voodoo, Apple Music, Spotify, every single thing on the planet that sells digital content, this suddenly applies to.
But wouldn't you say that, so like they're advocating that you actually have ownership over these digital things that you buy online and that you can lend them out or sell them just like you could a physical copy? Because, I mean, if you think about it, the market for DVDs hasn't tanked due to reselling. So why would that apply to software?
Because the market for DVDs has aging, has breakage, has everything like that, has the anything that actually happens with a physical item. The value of a couple of bits does not change at all by buying a used copy. Nobody on the planet would buy a new copy if the used market suddenly existed for it, because you're literally buying the exact same item. No usage, none of it really matters. The thing that terrifies me about this is, do you know what this means? Is that suddenly DLC, suddenly loot boxes, pay to win, pay codes that come with games that you have to redeem in order to have certain features, locked off features. Suddenly that becomes the way the companies are going to start making money.
Well, that's already the way that they're making money, though.
except you will see it start to go to the extreme. And like I said, think about the other companies. This overturned the ruling that, at the very least, in my opinion, they still have to go argue the fact that it's art. But if this stays, everything from Spotify to Apple Music to Voodoo to name any other place that you can buy or sell digital content suddenly uh, gains the ability to resell it, um, which means that none of the artists actually get any money for anything beyond that first sale. You, and I mean, you're going to see waves of DRM get more extreme. So
It seems like this is par for the course for Europe. They seem to like passing laws that just wreak havoc on digital stuff.
yeah,
Like their anti-meme law, I think it was called Article 13 or something like that. They just seem to have it out for the digital world, don't they?
yeah. And the thing that scares me is the amount of always on DRM is going to get worse with this. Think about it. Someone keeps all of his games on a secondary computer, sells the game on his first computer, still has the game on his second computer, can keep it as long as he wants. So, of course, the companies are going to start putting in always online DRM or callback functions on every single game that's on every single computer
Yeah,
to make sure.
and that having to be online in order to play a game, that's so annoying.
Yeah. And I mean, it was getting really bad for a little while. A couple of companies have actually pushed back against it. You're seeing some games that don't require always online for at least a single player portion. But you're going to see that start to disappear if this is the case. If the only way to verify that, because otherwise you'll have people selling a copy and then the other person selling a copy, everybody will have a secondary copy of the game. Maybe even
Yeah.
they'll grab a laptop that can't even play games as they're
So,
selling.
so like for our guild, for instance, we could get Mr. Moneybags Leonidas to buy a game and then resell it to us for like $1, and
Yeah.
we each buy it off of him, and just everyone keeps the old version of the game on their things as they resell it.
Yep. And those are the types of technological hurdles that they're not thinking of. And I'm terrified of what the game companies are actually going to do in order to recoup the money that they're about to lose, just because uh, they'll want to, at the very least, if they have to comply with this law, they'll want to find a way to make sure that everybody else is complying with it and not keeping a copy of the digital goods. A I also don't like the idea of suddenly Valve setting up a requirement to have a forensic examination of my computer when I sell a game, or check every IP that is logged into that game. The idea of that kind of privacy invasion that might end up happening could be a result of this. These are the types of things I think of when I think of anything digital. You got to think of the consequences, how every single party will react, how all the other companies that are affected because their products are similar are going to react.
So, do you think that's why we're seeing a bigger emphasis on these subscription services for games, where you pay a monthly fee and you get access to a bunch of games?
Yep. And that's also why I have a couple games over there that to get access to the full game, I have to put it in a secondary code that's a one use only.
What do you mean by that?
I had a couple of PS4 games where a feature was locked down behind a code you had to put in. I think For Honor was one of them. What was the other one? I think Red Dead Redemption had a feature that was it GTA Online also. GTA 5, to use the online portion, you had to input a code that was a one-time use to actually get on multiplayer. It was like a multiplayer code.
And so, like, once you use that code, you couldn't access that feature again.
Now, once you use that code, if you resold the game, the next person in line couldn't get online, couldn't do
Okay.
online play without that code. So they would have to buy a fresh retail copy in order to get that feature. And I have a feeling you're going to start to see games locking down features behind one-time use codes that come with the game. Now, as someone who buys games fresh, a lot of times it's not a giant deal to me, but I don't like the idea of the game industry going down that route of, oh, you need this DLC, because I don't like where that ends. Where that becomes the norm and suddenly selling that DLC is the norm.
Hey, thanks for checking out this video. I hope you got a lot out of it. And remember, if you want to support the channel, please check us out on the socials. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Matthew Kadish. You can also find our discussion group over on Facebook at eggfbgroup.com. That's eggfbgroup.com. Takes you right to our Facebook discussion group. And if you'd like to help support the channel, check out my books over on Amazon.com. You can find them by going to kadishbooks.com. That's Kadish books.com. And as always, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video for more movie, TV, and entertainment news and analysis. This is Matthew Kadish. I'll catch you guys later.